Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I'm Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right over there is John, our resident millennial. John, how is you are this evening?
How is I am?
How is you are?
How is I am? Um, fairly neato, fairly okay. Not
Fairly
terrible.
neato. I see Wyatt over on D
Yes.
Live poking his head
What is
out.
up, Wyatt? How's it going, bruh?
John. Your thing, your life. Is it wonderful? Is it going? Is it happening? Funky?
Yeah, pretty
Groovy?
hopeful. Yeah, I'm pretty
Pretty
hopeful.
hopeful. Which,
Yeah.
well, I wouldn't say you're pretty. You might be
Oh
hopeful.
snap! Look who showed up first
Henry
as
popping
usual.
in
Henry, haven't
first.
seen you in a while, man.
It's a
Glad to
good.
see you're
It's a
still
good thing.
around.
It's a good thing.
Glad to see your Fed boy work didn't, you know, end,
Why
as it
is
were.
why it says he's been busy.
Been
I
busy.
think he's just acting busy. You've seen the bumper sticker. Look busy. Jesus is coming.
Right, right.
Right. Look busy. That's what's important. Is you look busy. Jesus is coming. Hey, few
Uh,
things, few little minor things, just crazy.
Henry is dead, actually.
Oh, Henry's dead. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry to
so
hear that, Henry.
this is his ghost. This is a good week for ghosts, from what I
Yeah,
understand.
it's true.
You're a little early, but that's okay. You can feel free to haunt us
I was
twice
gonna
this
say
week if you want.
yeah, he's probably still gonna be a ghost for
Yeah.
Halloween. I mean, it's not like you really recover from that. Although I hope you do. I
Well,
mean, I hope you recover from your ghostum.
there's different schools of thoughts on that. Like, there's the school of thought that if that there's something unfinished in his life that's got him shackled to the mortal plane, still as a
Right,
ghost. And once that's resolved, he can pass on. There's
right.
that school of thought. Then there's the
So then I
other that this is purgatory. This is where that's what ghosts are. People that just didn't make it for heaven or hell, and this is just where
not
they.
yet. Yeah, well, I mean,
Right.
that's the thing about purgatory is you're there for X amount of time, and then you get to move on to heaven.
Unless you're a baby, you never get a pass if you're a baby.
That's true. Unless, oh, yeah, if you didn't get
Unbaptized.
baptized,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's a silly Catholic thing. Those silly Catholics.
I wonder if purgatory just looks like a really giant nursery with waiting room all around it for those that aren't babies.
I like the South Park one where they're on a plane, it's like an airplane, and like none
Gotcha.
of them can take off.
Gotcha.
They're just sitting there forever.
That's harsh. I'm like, are you sure that's not hell?
Right.
Um, so, if you haven't done it yet, John, have you checked out the new Borat movie?
I have. I actually watched it at midnight on the day that it came out. Like it came out on a Friday, and I was over at my girlfriend's house, and we were actually about to go to bed, and I guess we were looking at like Amazon Prime, and it was like, oh, Borat 2 just came out. Like it was like 12:03 in the morning, and I was like, all right, let's watch it, because I knew we were gonna bring it up. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with it, so I was like, all right, I gotta watch it. So I did.
What was your take on it?
Wasn't as good as the first one. Uh, I It wasn't terrible. I would recommend watching it once. You probably won't want to watch it again, but not because it's bad, but just because you don't need to. And also, Sacha Baron Cohen is kind of a prick. Not in the movie necessarily, but just like his real life, like the actor himself
Well,
is kind of a prick.
yeah,
So
he's
fuck
more
that guy.
he's
But
he's more like his Ali G character. Have you ever seen
no,
Ali G?
yeah, Ali G in the House that was on like HBO back in the day, right? I remember
Right.
seeing it. I don't really remember much about it,
Yeah. He was kind of
but no,
a
he's just a prick because he talks about like how people should be censored and even in jail for making edgy jokes, but it's okay when he does it because he's exposing like racists and anti-Semites.
he's
So it's fine
exposing
for
the
him,
edge.
but when
Right.
other people do it, they should be thrown in jail, they should be censored and lose their jobs and all this other nonsense.
Do you think he
So
sees?
it's
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was gonna say it's just another example of rules for thee and not for me.
Do you think he sees himself more as a Michael Moore kind of person?
Maybe Michael Moore with like a more humorous uh, leaning. because he is funny. Like I mean, I'm sorry, he's funny. Like yeah,
He
he's a
is.
prick, but he's really funny. So
Um, so in watching that, now I had to, at least for what was it, the CPAC convention that Mike Pence was speaking at. I did look that
yeah,
up, and that was real. Like he crashed that speech
right.
in reality. But some of it, I'm like, okay, how much of this was staged?
Oh, most of it,
Right? So like
most of it.
the whole Giuliani thing, right? And
Yeah,
there was a lot of talk about the Giuliani thing where people were trying to take out of context what was going on there.
right.
However, I was like, okay, how staged is this with Giuliani? Because just the simple fact that he was allowing her to like untuck his shirt, trying to get the mic off, this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, okay, that had to be staged. Like he had to, unless he was just rolling with it. And I'm like, okay, now it does begin to enter borderline inappropriate behavior.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how staged that was, um, but I don't know. I mean, it's still. I could see that being standard procedure for because she probably put the mic on him in the first place,
Potentially.
so she would know how how it comes off, and it's her mic, and all that kind of stuff. So if she starts to try and take it off, well, it's like, all right, well,
I
and he
mean,
wasn't like touching her inappropriately or anything. So I mean, yeah, there was like the pat on the side. It's not like he was like patting on her ass. Like he just kind of
I
patted on the
guess it,
side. Oh, thank
I
you.
guess it was just the whole, okay, well, let's go into the bedroom. And I'm assuming that it was part of it was the way it was cut when he's like, well, just give
Yeah.
me your phone number and your home address,
Right.
something like that. I'm like,
Which I
whoa.
imagine is pretty standard procedure with journalists. You would say, hey, let me get your contact info,
Yeah, but why would
so
you
my
want a
people can call
journalist's
your
home
people.
address?
Did he say home address or not, and not
Yes,
email
that's
address?
what
I don't remember,
I had
but
to double check it. He said, yeah, because he asked her, for her phone number and home address.
yeah,
And
I
I'm
don't
like,
know.
it was weird. The conversation was kind of weird, but that's why I'm like, okay, I know that they create these awkward situations in
Yeah,
reality when they're doing this,
right.
but how much of it was he aware was going to happen? It was just because I really they managed to get the creepy vibe in there. They just did. I'm just,
Right, but I
it
mean
was
that can
there.
be done with editing and like
Sure.
music and things like that. And I don't remember what kind of music was playing. If there was any music in the background, I don't know. I don't remember because that's not something that you really always notice right away. It kind of fades into the background, so I don't know. But with the whole like laying down the bed, it seemed like an older, obese guy tucking his shirt in. You know what I mean? It really seemed like it wasn't like, yeah, his hand was in his pants, but he wasn't like making jerking motions or anything. He didn't whip
No,
his
no,
dick
no. I
out.
get that.
Like he
No, I
didn't
agree
do,
there.
yeah,
That's why I say it's just there was just a weird vibe to it all. They managed to get that across in the movie, like,
right.
or create that, however you want to put it. It was there, and I'm like, okay, I can see, you know, because we talked about like cuties recently,
Hmm.
right? Right. And the implication was that this girl was 15 years old. Now I'm aware that she was probably older than 15. I get
The
that. She's,
actress was, I believe,
yeah,
24.
right. But
So yeah, that's not a problem, obviously.
it does go to that
He's not
mindset,
married or anything,
right?
so
It does go to that mindset. Okay, if you're trying to like create an inappropriate scenario, awkwardness,
yeah,
um, you know, are we still okay doing it with someone even if they're just impersonating a 15-year-old and creating that
right. And I
moment?
think we both
Yeah,
had decided that it is certainly better. Um, and not that like creating that kind of situation can be funny, especially knowing that the actress is over age. You
it
know what I mean?
can
Like
be.
it creates
Yes,
kind of a different, yeah,
I think it needs more camp to it, in my opinion. Like if you're gonna
yeah,
do it, it needs more camp to it, just to lighten. When you make it awkward, it's just like, oh my god, you just heighten the cringe. You just heighten the
yeah.
cringe on it, right?
I think that's what he was going
Um,
for. Yeah,
But anyway, so if you haven't seen Borat, check it out. To be honest with you, my favorite was just the two good old boys that he was supposedly stay
See,
with for a while. Those guys were fun. I'm like, damn, because they were pretty
but
real to
that
me.
was definitely staged.
You think those
That was
guys were
absolutely
staged?
staged.
Do you?
Of course.
Well, yes.
Okay,
Him
let me ask you
staying
something.
with him was
No,
staged, but
yeah, of course. No, of course, because like think about it. He met him outside of like what, a liquor store or something, and he was like, "I have nowhere to go. Can I
well,
stay
I
with
think they
you?"
set up the
I mean, come
meeting
on.
him right. Yeah, I mean they probably had to
Yeah,
do a little setup to get, but that doesn't mean they didn't find two good old boys that really believe that stuff.
that's true. So I would say that's mostly staged, if
Right.
not completely.
But I
I
thought they were.
can,
I just thought they were fun, to be honest with you.
yeah. Well, see, I like the super edgy one when he goes into the synagogue dressed as like a completely stereotypical Jew with like money bags and like the huge
Yes,
nose,
that was funny.
and he goes, "That
And
was yeah."
and the Jewish lady, oh, she was
Who,
priceless.
who he's being sued by. I think the case got dismissed though because she was aware of what was going on beforehand. So that part was staged. Like they knew that it was
They
a
knew he was.
movie, and then
So she tried to sue
right.
anyway, though.
So I guess so, yeah, because she was like a Holocaust survivor or something. And I mean, the whole movie, like, obviously he wasn't denying the Holocaust, but he was celebrating it. Like, he was saying, this is our nation's greatest achievement, you know, was the Holocaust. So, I mean, I see why you would get your panties in a bunch if you were a Holocaust survivor. But, yeah, there's no case there. I mean, she knew what was going on and had probably signed whatever legal documents needed to be signed.
Well, it was definitely interesting. Uh, I didn't laugh out loud at anything. Let's put it that way. I wasn't
That's
like
the only part
rolling
I
from.
did laugh out loud was the Jew part. That got me.
I wasn't even laughing at
That
that.
got me. Yeah.
More from the fact that I'm just like, I sit and watch that more in disbelief at what he does, just has the fucking balls to do, and just
Yeah.
go out there and do it. And so I'm impressed. Like that whole CPAC thing, he could have gotten in a lot of trouble if he wasn't careful. Because he did do
Could have
that.
been. He
He
could have got
definitely did
killed.
that guerrilla style, right? He
Yeah.
ambushed that situation, and I looked it up to be sure, and sure enough, that was what happened. She wasn't there. He didn't carry her in. They think it was just like a dummy that he was carrying over his
Yeah.
shoulder, not actually her, so she wouldn't get in trouble,
Right.
just in case things went south. But yeah, I was impressed. I'm like, well, there you go. If you want to call that journalism, that's ballsy journalism in its own way.
Yeah.
Just FYI, we've got a new Supreme Court justice.
Yep. We
Um,
sure do.
the drama with Hunter Biden laptops, and apparently now there's at least two more laptops that other people have.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, according to Mr. G, we believe there are two more laptops. Count them, two more laptops out there.
Did you
Um,
see the picture of Hunter Biden? Like he's standing up with his robe on, but it's open, and then in the background on the bed is clearly a minor, and then there's another one where he's like laying down, and there's clearly a minor laying next to him. Like her head was like half his size, like she was small.
does it
Like
look
it was
obviously
not.
photoshopped?
No, it doesn't look photoshopped. But I'm not an expert on that. But I don't know. I'm sure someone would have uh, mentioned that. Hey, this is a Photoshop.
I'm
Because usually you can tell.
I'm still trying to figure out. I, these people, I'm like, why are you documenting this stuff? If it's real, why are you documenting it?
That's what
I,
happens
I,
when
I
you're
don't.
when you're that rich. You feel like you're invulnerable. You feel like you're
Yeah, you're not
bulletproof. You feel
invulnerable.
like I'm not saying you are. I'm saying you feel
If
that way. So you're like, what does
if
it matter what I do?
but
Like
you're so fucking stupid that you don't see what goes on in the world around you.
he's
Like
also a crackhead.
everybody.
It's not like he's in the right mindset all the time.
Well,
Like,
again, I'm still the legitimacy of it has not been verified to me. I don't know. It's I think this is going to it's going to whirlwind around and like try and keep things stirred up till come Tuesday, and then it's just going to kind of depending on how the
Yeah.
election
Oh, yeah,
falls
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. No, no, it doesn't matter either way. I mean, nothing's gonna happen, right? Nothing's gonna happen
I
to
don't
Hunter.
know.
Nothing's
That's
gonna
what
happen to Joe. Nothing's gonna happen to any of these people. That's just how it works. Like, not, we make fun of it. We're outraged by it. I mean, he's rich. He's untouchable. He's a Biden. You're not gonna touch him. It's just not gonna happen. I mean,
so
don't get me wrong.
so.
I want to be wrong. Please prove me wrong. But
But
it's not gonna happen.
isn't that the same thing? Can't we say the same thing about Trump? You'll never touch him with corruption because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. He, Wyatt says, I don't think the Hunter laptop is that big of an issue there, showing it too slow. Yeah, they're trying to creep it out. They're trying to extend it. They're trying to draw it out. And
Yeah,
Giuliani, he was in an interview, and apparently he was compared to Steele with the Steele dossier, in how
yeah.
he was going about getting the information and doing all this, that, and the other thing, and he got pissed off because she was equating him to a fucking criminal, and he fucking ended the interview and stormed out of there apparently. But I don't know. It's still it's one of those things. Like, you know what? It just adds to the list. It just adds to the list because we
Well, I think
do.
that's why they're doing it slowly, is they're trying to keep the momentum going, and releasing a little bit of information at a time allows people to see each new thing at a time, as opposed to releasing it all at once. And most people won't go and like look at everything. They might see a few pictures or a few things here and there. But keeping people's attention on it constantly, with, oh, here's teasing with new information, keeps people, interested, and keeps people, focused on it, which is
Right.
obviously what they want right before the election.
Sure.
So like, look at the Clinton emails, right? How many people actually went through all, like, what was it, like 1,300 of them or something? Most people didn't do that. So a few autists did, but most people didn't actually go through them.
Right.
If they released three, four, or five emails at a time, much more likely that people would have seen each and every one of them, or at least a good portion of them.
Well, but see, there was a difference between them. There, I'm of the opinion that the Clinton emails were authentic. Like we believed the authenticity of those emails from the beginning. Whereas with these, this is the only thing that should be of importance right now, is not what's on the laptop and seeing bits and pieces, and
Mhm.
you need to clarify that this is real. You need to prove beyond a shadow
So
of a doubt that it is.
the intelligence community, which is usually not on the side of Trump and usually will do anything against Trump, is saying that there's no reason to believe that it's like a Russian disinformation campaign or any of this other nonsense that is always drudged up. That they're even saying no, this seems to be authentic. So I don't know what it would take for you to prove to you that it's real, but
Well,
I think
that's
it's much more likely that it's real, and every indication is pointing to it being real.
well, it stinks of a disinformation campaign. If this stuff was running around in Ukraine last year, if like video images and information from this laptop are similar, because they're saying that things that they're seeing now are similar to what was being seen in 2019 in Ukraine. um, I'm like, okay, so is that what this is about? Is this trying to, did they do it in did they spread information in the Ukraine first to diminish Hunter Biden's importance, to flush out, and then now they're bringing the laptop with the
I
information
don't know.
forward here.
I haven't heard anything like that, because the laptops were in Delaware, were they not?
Yeah,
I'm
but
pretty
I,
sure.
I, I
Yeah.
told you
So
the
that's
last time
not
we were on a
Ukraine,
show, the last time we were on a show, I was reading an article where
right?
they were talking about images and emails, information that had been
Hmm.
circulating around in the Ukraine for almost a year,
Right.
that were startlingly similar to the images that were being surfaced off this laptop. So again, now of course that could have just been more disinformation to try and dissuade from the true information. I don't know. It's you
Right.
know
It's so hard to know
no,
what's
knowing
real and what's not anymore.
right, knowing that even Trump's own people have said that one of the prime people that Giuliani was dealing with in Ukraine was involved in major disinformation campaigns and tied to the Russians and other European, whatever countries there, blah blah blah, with disinformation campaigns. But like he was like fully involved in them. He was like your go-to guy in the government for disinformation campaigns. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know. It's very confusing to me. And if somebody said, I've been trying to watch him for somebody to just have an article that says it has definitively been proven that this is Hunter Biden's actual laptop, that these photos aren't doctored, that this isn't done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure the intelligence community has done that.
Have
The
they?
your little
I mean,
alphabet boys
I
have
mean,
said that not they've said that this is indeed his laptop. The emails back and forth are real. I'm not sure about the pictures. Maybe someone in the chat could tell us. I don't know. I don't know the full story, but yeah,
Ed says he made a solo video. Good to see you
he
tonight,
did say
Ed.
that.
Uh, why it says won't get that from mainstream media. Yeah, I can understand.
Tucker has been killing it with it though. Tucker
But
Carlson has been just amazing, and that's the highest rated TV news show, something like that.
so
So it's
so
getting out there.
shouldn't so they can't if there's a hammer to be brought down against Joe Biden for impropriety while he was in office, can they don't want to do that before too soon before the election because they'll throw another candidate in there? I don't understand. Why? I mean, if he broke the law, if he's done something wrong,
Hmm.
and this proves it, shouldn't we be moving on that?
Well,
Like,
it's
should
been
they be
debunked,
bringing some?
right?
I don't know. I
That's the
don't know.
problem.
I don't know.
Now, see, Henry has all the answers here for us. He said Hunter Biden pictures are real. Henry took them. We smoked crack together, he says. So now we know. Look at that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That's got to be fun, though, smoking crack with Hunter Biden. I
What would
bet he
be
knows how
more?
to party.
I bet it would be more fun to smoke crack with Joe.
I don't think so.
Come on, I bet that would be fun. I was there's what the hell? There's some puppet show on. Was it on Hulu? I think it's on Hulu. It was only one episode so far, but it was. But anyway, it's puppets of Trump and Biden and all this, and it's kind of some funny shit. But Biden, oh poor Biden, they just play him as really fucking sad. I love it. It's one of those that I love because it just mocks both of them to no
Right.
end, right? It's really it's really kind of funny. But every since I saw it a couple of days ago, every time I think of Joe Biden, I think about that. But anyway, John, you said you've already voted. Now we don't have to let the cat out of the bag, but I was asking you if you were going to be going to vote on Tuesday off mic, and you
Hmm.
told me that you had already voted. Do you feel good about your vote?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I do.
Do you want to share who you voted for, or can we probably
Uh,
guess?
I would like to see you guess. Yeah.
Well, of course, my mind thinks that you probably would have voted for Jorgensen, but I can't be 100% correct. But if you did, I'm kind of curious about the reasoning behind it to see if I'm right on in it. So, did you vote for Joe?
Yeah, I did vote for George Jorgensen. I know. Um, it's just that, like, I just need to. I wanted to show that there's a third option. Like, I wanted to give is obviously I'm only one vote. I wanted to at least participate in pushing libertarians, further into the mainstream. That's my reasoning behind it. It's obviously my one vote is the best that I can do, but yeah. So I went with that instead, just because I don't want to be. I'm not a Trump supporter 100%. Like I've said before, I'm at like 55% approval rating for him. So better than half, but not good enough for my vote. Um, And then I voted straight libertarian down the ticket as well, including our boy who was going for, what was it, commissioner? Yeah, Andre Class, voted for him.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
nice, nice.
yeah, voted for your
Um,
boy.
yeah, I won't. I won't be able to vote for him because he's not going to be in my area.
Right,
Right.
different county. Yeah.
But I have. I'm planning on going to on the third, getting up and go. I've got a place that's about a block, 2 or 3 blocks from my house that I can go vote. But I have made my decision on who I'm voting for, and but
Oh,
I don't love the reason why I'm making the choice I'm making.
what is it? Who are you gonna vote for?
I'm actually going to vote for Joe Jorgensen.
Oh, Joe Jorgensen.
Yes.
Wow. Okay,
And
I like it.
there's a reason behind it, not because I'm in love with the Libertarian Party.
Right, same. I'm not either.
What I
Despise them.
And of course not in love, far from in love with any Democrats or Republicans right now.
Right.
But here's the thing: if the Libertarian Party can get enough votes
Hmm.
during the general election, they will automatically be favored for a seat at the next election's debates.
Yes, which would
They
be excellent.
which is and that is and sadly I'm having to choose the lesser of three evils because I see this as an evil that I have to cast a vote to hopefully prod the Libertarian Party into doing something reasonable, feasible, and evolved enough with our present society to make
Hmm.
a play for Washington and get some new blood in there. But that's why I'm casting that vote.
Wow. So I'm actually genuinely surprised that you would vote libertarian. Pleasantly, genuinely surprised, of course.
And again, sadly, it's a vote that's about playing the game.
Yeah.
It's more about trying to get someone a seat at the table, and maybe it's possible they're just going to show me that they've got nowhere to go, and it's just going to die off again before another election comes around.
Possibly.
But
But I mean, your conscience can be clear.
at least
You
I
know.
tried, right?
Right.
Um,
That's all you can do. Yeah.
but I hate not casting a vote in the for one of the two that are actually going to be the decider in this race. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
this is a race between two people when it's all said and done. The only hope is that a smaller party can eke out enough of a share.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I'm not going to be a part of that decision between one of those two, and that sucks. I hate
Yeah.
not casting my vote for the actual president one way or the other.
Right.
It's a very difficult, that's the weight of the responsibility as a citizen, right? The weight and the responsibility of the vote. It's it's
Yeah.
it's pretty big if you really think about the reasons why you're going to cast your vote. Some people, a lot of people aren't going to do that. They're just going to cast a color, right? But
Yeah.
I
Gonna vote
have
for the red team or the blue team. Yeah.
I feel like I have to at least you know I don't know. Uh, Henry says a vote for Joe is a vote for Joe. And see, that's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the battle that goes on inside me. That right now is like, you should consider casting a vote to prevent someone from winning.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I don't like that
no,
either. I
I
want to
don't.
vote for
That's
someone, not
right.
against someone. Yeah.
All the evil avenues that I have to take to cast my vote, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But it's not. I can't not vote. I can't not do it.
Right. I mean, it's been so long since you were allowed to, right? Or you've never been allowed to, have you?
Oh, I have. I have voted. Yeah, it's
Okay.
once upon a time. But yeah, so it's a responsibility. If I have the ability to do it, then But man, I wish I could do it with a clear conscience, like
Yeah.
a truly clear conscience that I was, doing the right thing by casting my vote. Ed says, "I get it. I had to be drugged. I had to be drugged to the Trump vote, kicking and screaming."
Yeah.
Henry,
No, I know. I've seen him. I've seen that journey that you've gone through there, Ed. I saw you being like, no, I can't vote for Trump. I just can't do it. And then recently you're just like, fuck it. I'm voting for Trump.
Henry says he doesn't actually believe that about the Joe for Joe.
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah,
says
yeah.
everyone just
I
says
knew
that.
that.
Voting third party is a step in the right direction. Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, he said Ed says if Kenosha hadn't happened, he might not have
I can see
voted
that. Yeah.
Trump.
Because I know Kenosha affected you, Ed, quite a bit. So I can imagine that that would be a game changer for you.
Well, I came to the conclusion that if there's going to be enough people that want Trump in office to vote and give him a chance of winning the election. So they don't need my vote in that. What's needed is, like Henry said, is we need a third party. If
Yeah.
if we can't get rid of the party system altogether, you've got to have a third wheel to fuck things up, right? And balance it out to a certain
Yeah.
extent. I think a third party would bring balance to the force, if nothing else. I think it would start to do that. And
Right.
it would generate the enthusiasm at the lower levels for more libertarians to try and ascend to office. Uh,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Perhaps.
so speaking of all of this,
Well, real quick
oh,
though, before we move on,
no, no, go ahead.
Wyatt says, I don't think the LP would gain enough votes to be on the debate stage. Third party will help a ton. Well, I agree with you, Wyatt. I don't think they will either, but I can't not help.
Well,
Like, I can't not push in that direction because
right,
that's obviously my goal. But I'm only one vote, but I voted the way that I chose to. That I think will help, or that I think will have the best result, even if she doesn't become president, which she won't, obviously.
right.
But
Well,
I mean, that's the most I can do for my conscience, to be clear.
I will say this, and it was not in 2016. I want to say it was one of the two Barack Obama elections that the Libertarian Party actually came close
Yeah,
to getting the automatic buy, and that's the key here. It's one thing to try and get enough popularity to get on the debate stage, when you don't have the automatic buy. The Democrats and Republicans get an automatic buy to the debate stage because of the percentages they get, of course, in the general election of the electoral vote. And I can't remember what the percentage is. It's very low. It's between 1% and 3%. I want to say it is, John. Is it like 3% maybe of the electoral vote or a popular
um,
vote? One of the two. But
I don't remember what it is. It's
if
yeah,
they get enough, then they can get the buy. They get a party member on the stage. And
right.
then that's where the popularity contest comes in, is, which libertarian gets enough attention to get on to fill
Well,
that
that's a
spot.
that's a whole other problem.
Hmm. And that's fine. We can address that when we get to
Yeah,
it, but it's
right.
like
Let's
Henry
actually
says.
get there, though. Yeah,
He says if we can get them in the debate, it would threaten their two-party system paradigm and maybe set them straight.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
100%.
Why says Ed's co-host will be happy.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, it's really what it boils down to. It's just like, okay, can we at least just get them the percentage of the vote?
Yeah,
So if you haven't cast a vote and you're on the fence and you can't decide, that if you don't feel that either one, Trump or Biden, deserve your vote, cast a vote for the third party so that we can maybe reach a point where we get that to happen.
yeah.
I don't think that's addressed enough. I've seen it. The push, like I said before, it's happened before where you try to get people's attention. I want to say maybe it was when it wasn't all the way back when Ron Paul ran. Was it Ron Paul that ran for president? Who did he run
Ron Paul
against?
has run. Gary Johnson was the last one during the 2016 election. Bill Weld, I think, ran. I don't remember all of them.
Because Ron
Who?
Paul actually was on a debate stage during his election run.
Well, yeah. I don't remember who it was. It might have been one of the Obama ones. I'm not sure. Someone in the chat who has better googling skills can probably or
Um,
a memory maybe. I
yeah,
don't
it
know.
was either against a Bush or Clinton or something. It was somewhere in
Something
there.
like that.
But,
Yeah.
back when the libertarians could get on the stage, because they would make efforts to get people to vote for them in the general election. And I don't feel that's as strong now. And that really should be something that, the Libertarian Party should be pushing out there at this time is like, look, a vote for the Libertarian Party gets
Well,
us
they do.
a plate at the table. Um,
Ron Paul was ran as a Republican, so he was
hmm.
only in the primaries, I imagine.
Oh, that's right. Okay, he
Yeah,
did run as a Republican. I remember that now. All right.
which makes sense. I get why he did that.
But
It's
speaking
it's
of
easier to get on
libertarians,
stage.
um, I wanted to touch on something because you had a conversation on Twitter with someone
Yeah.
just the other day, and it sparked an interesting thought in my head, and I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit. But can you just give us a little rundown or preface, with what the conversation was going on and what it was about, etc.
Right. I don't remember who I was replying to. I think it was. Oh, it was actually a
Geocon?
Sargon tweet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That.
Oh, the
Oh, you don't have
original.
to
Sorry.
say is. Yeah. The original one. I just because he was talking about taxes or something like that. And he's almost been there several times. So I was like, "Come on, Sargon, you're so close. Taxation is theft. Just say it, like something like that." I was like, just taxation is theft. And this dude, who I wasn't gonna name, but you just did, um, commented under me saying taxes isn't theft, and I was like, yes, I got one, right? So started a conversation with him, um, and basically he was saying that taxation isn't theft because it's something that the government uses as a tool, and they have every right to it because government creates property, and government has authority simply because they're the government. I didn't really understand where he was coming from too much because I've never heard that argument before. Because he was he was a more right wing guy. Like he wasn't a leftist, who I thought he was originally. But talking to him more and more, he was more like an authoritarian right wing guy. Um, so yeah, his basic argument was that the government is the government, therefore they can do whatever they want, and they have the right to do whatever they want because they create property. So he's a right wing guy that didn't believe in property rights. And once he said he didn't believe in property rights, is pretty much when I gave up. So I was like, I don't have all day to sit here with this guy and argue simple concepts, and that's I'm just gonna go ahead and end it here. And we ended it amicably. He said, fair enough, having a good day. And I was like, yeah, you too, buddy. And that was the end of it. It was no like, being mean to each other. None of us were disrespectful, but
No,
it was
no,
just
no. It was
really
a
weird. I've never heard that argument before, though.
Right, and it was an interesting conversation. If you go look on our Twitter feed at the Gin Gap
The Gen
P,
Gap P link below.
you
Go
will
follow us
see
too if you haven't
you can see
already.
the conversation. So and so now this brought what he was saying put some interesting thoughts in my head, and I'm going to be speaking to property rights as it pertains to property taxes. Okay, your property that you go buy at the store and you keep, that's your property, right? I get
Right, but
that.
you're talking
That's,
about like
I'm talking
your
about the,
house.
like a house. You pay property
Yeah.
taxes on a house, right? Okay. So we're gonna go into the way back now. We're gonna go into the long before time. When this country was founded, okay,
Uh-huh.
we look at the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution as two of our founding documents, right?
Yeah.
Where the Declaration of Independence declares that we are establishing our independence, our
That
sovereignty
we're
from any
sovereign. Yeah.
other nation. This is our land. We the people. This is our
Right.
country. These are our borders. These are our states. They fall within the boundaries of the United States of America, right? And we
Right.
have the Constitution that was is of the people, by the people, for the people, et cetera, right? So by extension, this country is made up of the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the country is the people, and the people are the country. So this land is all of ours. This country is ours. Where I live right now is on American soil.
Hmm.
And you, as a citizen of this country, this is as much your land as it is mine because it's your country too.
Right.
Okay, so by extension, that means that all of America belongs to all Americans.
uh,
From a property
from
standpoint, we're all
mm,
conjoined owners of every bit of land here in America because it is us. We are it. It is us.
yeah, I don't think that. I think you're okay. So let's step
Well,
back a little bit. Let's
okay,
step
go
back a
ahead.
little bit because I think I see where you're going, but and stop me if I'm wrong. You're trying to say that okay, yeah, collectively all the land is ours, right?
Right.
But
This is
the
all
piece that
ours.
you have, but the piece that you own is
Right.
yours. It's not somebody else's. It's not everyone's. Like the land that your house is on is yours. It is not. It doesn't belong to me as well,
Okay. So
right? This whole like nobody owns land is not that. That's just not the case, right? You obviously you purchased that land, and that
well,
is your land.
my thought is
That is
if
your house. That is on your land.
see, and this is where what he was talking about. I don't know if this was I don't like the authoritarian approach to it. But my thought is if this country is is the people and the people are the country and all of this belongs to all of us. This is our home.
But
This
that's
is
where you're
our
getting it
nation.
wrong. Is that
Hold
it
on.
doesn't.
It doesn't belong to us?
No, you said that. What? Go through your spiel again.
Was it
The country is ours, and we are the country, and all
the
that
people
thing
make
that you
up
just
the
did.
country and
Yes.
right and the
Uh
country I
huh.
mean the country itself exists because of the people. I mean we
Right.
established that the people are inherently the will of the people is what makes this country what it is. And or we say that the government does, and I don't want to go that direction. The government doesn't make this country what it is, right? But if this is
It,
all
it
of
makes it a the government makes the country a nation or a country, not a nation, a country. Without it, we would just be a nation, which is different. There's a distinction
bec-
between country and a nation, but that's a whole different thing. But the government is what makes it a country.
right, but the government doesn't make
But without
this.
that,
It
we would
doesn't
just
make.
be
I'm not saying the government makes property. What I'm saying is the government, whether it's on the local scale, which handles property taxes, this kind of thing,
right,
etc., they are governing our land. This property that is all
right.
of this property
So
is all of ours, and they govern it. And
right.
instead of me saying I want to buy this chunk of land and get everyone in the country who is a part of this country to agree that I can own this sovereign piece of land, that I can make it my own.
Can you say that again? Because you broke
Oh,
up on my end.
that I could take a piece of land and make it my own sovereign area. I can take my 1 acre
Hmm.
and that's mine forever. I
Right.
own that piece of land.
Right.
To get that agreement from everyone because I see it as a collective as far as land and the local governments, they just govern the lease. Basically, it's a lease of the land because I don't own any land.
That is
It's
basically what it
all of
is,
ours,
but it's
right?
not all of ours, is
T-
it? It's not.
How
It's
can
the
I?
government's land,
Okay, so
and then
if
they
I'm
allow you to buy it, which is unfortunate. I don't think that's how it should be, but that is how it is as it is right now. That's how it is. Um, and when it comes to like property taxes, yeah, it's up to local municipalities, cities, states, whatever it is, to that they have the ability, the constitutional ability to levy taxes on themselves. On like the state has that ability to do that. They're able to. So I don't have as much of a problem with property taxes as I do with like the income taxes.
I
Even state income tax, I'm not a fan of.
I
Which luckily
see
we don't have that here in Florida. But
I see it as a mechanism to prevent someone from becoming a land baron anymore. Do you remember we used to have land barons that would just buy land, buy land, buy land, buy land,
uh-huh.
and they would, land barons. I mean, that goes back into, what, the
Eh,
old days in England, right? There used to be
well,
the baronies,
yes
these
and
land
no.
barons that
Well,
would.
Well,
There's
barons. Well, so you wouldn't usually purchase the land. It would be granted to you as a fiefdom by the king, usually, or a duke or something like that. Someone who has land, they can give you a piece of their own land as a fiefdom. So if you're talking about like feudalism, it's a bit different. You don't. Oh, you can purchase land, but you usually don't. You usually get it in exchange for offering service and paying taxes.
Because see, I tried to, I guess what I was trying to do was find a reason to justify my property taxes in a way that said, okay, I'm using a portion of land that other people around me have just as much right to. If it were, let's say, for sale, they have just as much right to buy
Yeah,
it as
just if
anybody
you're yeah,
else, right?
of course, yeah.
So they have as much right to this land as I do. Um,
Well,
so
not only if it's for sale, only if they're
well,
trying to buy it.
only if it's for sale. I get what you're saying there, right?
Yeah,
Um, but from the standpoint of the inherent land itself, what it's a part of, I s- I- if I feel if I equate my property taxes to distribute, leasing it from the people, the community around me, the people around me, so that they get some use from the land itself as well.
I
Like,
can see what you're saying.
I'm not trying to see it as a communist thing, but I'm trying to look at it, trying to figure
Right,
out a way
right.
that
No,
it's
I
not
see what you're
the
saying.
government stealing from me, and they're also not, being authoritarians from,
Well, but they
it,
are. But I mean, yeah, you can see it a different way if you want to, and I see your line of logic there. Um, I mean, you're leasing it from the government, though. That is the long and short of it.
well,
You're not leasing it from your neighbors.
well, and that's the thing, it's like, okay, so and I'm not leasing it from the federal government. See, now I'd be more comfortable if I was paying
Right.
my
Well,
property
like
taxes in as federal
technically,
taxes as opposed
the
to income.
Bureau of Land Management. I don't know if that's actually what they do. um, I just know that their initials are BLM, and that's pretty funny. But because they're a terrorist organization, BLM. Um, but yeah, yeah. So the federal government does own all the land, and then the states
Okay, so
have their land that they kind of control, except for the parts that they don't, because the federal government controls it. Like it's just kind of, uh, I don't know. It's kind of complicated. And I probably don't fully understand it. I'm
well,
not fully
so
articulating it very well, but
let me, maybe that's the part because the government shouldn't own the land. That's the thing. I can understand being an executor of the property, but I can't. Do you feel? Do you think that they own it?
yes, the federal government owns it. The only thing that stops them from just being able to take it is the Constitution. The
Well, then that does.
seizures. Yeah, seizing property without trial, without due process. And they have to offer compensation for it as well.
Okay,
But
but
or unless, of course, you're found guilty of a crime or
well, that
whatever, then
doesn't
they can.
scream ownership to me. I mean, that's a landlord has that right. I mean, and
Well, landlords own. Well,
not
most
or leasing
landlords
manager.
either own it.
Let me say a leasing manager has that right to
Sure.
do that to tenants in the name of
Well,
the
yes and
landowner.
no. They have to go through the court. They have to go through the courts to do it.
Sure,
They'd
but
have to
they
get
have to
permission from
follow
the
a
landowner,
legal.
I'm sure.
They have to follow a legal process to evict a
Right,
tenant
which means
and
that it's
take.
not right. That means that it's not. They can't just kick you out. They can't just, as long as there's a lease, of course. They can't just be like, "Well, I need you out now. You have to get out." Right? There's an agreement that has to be arbitrated. You know, but
Yeah, you
I forget
make
what.
sure and read your lease agreements when you're signing
Yeah.
anything in the future because you need to understand that they've got out clauses to get you the fuck out
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
without courts if they need to. They can do things. they
yeah.
they do have some ways to do it. I mean,
Sure.
the primary winners right here in Florida is your air conditioner, right? That's like a bigger deal than your rights in the property.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it
It's
is.
like right. That's a bigger deal to
You
people in
cannot
Florida.
survive in Florida without AC. You will not. You will not survive without an AC here.
You
It's
know,
not gonna happen.
look, I'm not. It's. I guess I I understand. Again, I understand what the argument taxation is theft denotes, right? Um,
Hmm.
but I have to try and understand whether or not you know if the government sees itself again as an owner of the land in this country, or if
Right.
it sees itself as an executor of the property in this country, where they delegate it in swaths, and call it a state, and then that state in turn also delegates, or not delegates, but executes, the governorship of the property there, not
Mhm.
ownership. Because
Right.
again, it's like, if this is my country, I should be able to, I take squatters' rights. I should be able to just go and throw a fucking tent wherever I want in my own
Yeah.
country.
I agree with that. You should, as long as you're not on someone else's property, which of course,
Right.
anything that's not owned by an individual or a corporation is owned by the government, which is why that's illegal. Or at least,
Well, and that I could have a problem
yeah.
with, is like, okay, now if they don't, you know, and you say owned by the government again, is it, do they
It's
claim
all owned
right
by
to
the
ownership on
federal
it?
government.
And that's the
It
problem I have.
depends. It depends. Yeah. But see, I think though, once you purchase property, it should now no longer belong to the U.S. government. It should just belong to you,
Hmm.
and that's it. Um, Obviously, that's not how that works because you still have to pay property taxes. You can have it seized from you. Um, whatever else. Like, if you live in an HOA, that's even worse. But at least that's voluntary. At least you don't have to live in a place that has an HOA. But
Does security within the country have anything to do with that? Like the idea that if it was sovereign property that you owned, that you could do whatever you wanted on it?
um, I mean, I think obviously you still have to follow the laws of the United States. But in an ideal world, yeah,
Mm.
I would say that you could.
Some scary
And
stuff that can happen on private property.
idealistically, realistically, you still have to follow the laws of the United States, but that is your property, and no one can tell you what you can and can't do, and they're short of the law. And then it should also be much harder to get warrants and things like that to search someone's property.
Um,
It's
I'm
way too easy
I'm
right
not
now.
gonna I'm not gonna I'm not gonna dignify what Ed said to me. If you want to read it to yourself, please
I
feel
did.
free.
I read it
Saint,
earlier.
though,
Yeah.
Saint says perfect example is the
Saint, welcome.
University of Arizona expansion project was shut down because a property owner refused the university and the city offer. Supreme
Right,
Court
which is
ruled
awesome.
on that technically you can live in a tent anywhere on public property and it can't be removed by police, at least in California, because
Well,
that is public property, private,
that's
not
not
public.
true though, because uh, don't they clear out like the tent cities and stuff over there all the time?
Actually, that's been that. It wasn't about clearing them out. They were trying to get them to clear them out. They weren't clearing that. They were becoming a problem, if I'm not mistaken, for some people,
Oh yeah.
because they were
Oh
allowed to
yeah.
go on. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, it's that's the
You
thing.
said Saint says not anymore. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, see, so that's the thing. It's like, if it's a piece of property that doesn't have an owner, you know, you can't
Yeah.
call it private property. You just,
Right. It's public property.
the government can't say this is private property because nobody owns it.
Right.
That is where I'm like, okay, then I, as an American citizen, should be able to go to that property because nobody owns it, and I can set up a fucking tent if I
I
want to.
agree.
You
Yeah.
know, if there's some housing regulation that denotes what size of, structure I can put together on that property before I
Well,
have to get permits, then so
there's
be it.
usually a there's usually a maximum for that though,
Right,
not a
right.
minimum. You know what I mean?
Or
Like, yeah,
a maximum that you can do before you reach that point. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna,
right. And
you know,
the
I should.
tent is not going to reach that maximum.
No, well, there's some pretty big fucking tents out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, but it's still, I
I
mean,
mean,
it's not that big.
have you ever seen the Sheik's tent? It is so cool. Sandy,
I
but
actually
it's
haven't.
so neat.
I know who you're
Uh,
talking about. Actually, wasn't it? The guy
Alibaba.
wasn't it? Was it Assad?
Mm,
I think it was Assad that like set it up like outside the UN in New
yeah,
York, and like he had actual tents and shit, and like he brought his harem along with him. I think it was Assad. I'm not 100% on that. Don't quote me on that.
I'll just
But it
bring
was
a.
one of those like Middle Eastern dictators that like brought a big ass tent and like just set up outside the UN headquarters with his harem and like his security detail and all these other people. But yeah, it was just straight up tents.
So, what about when it comes to property in that land and property, um, do we have a problem though with um, state parks where people say, hey, we need to or wildlife reserves, or this is where these groups get up and they say, hey, we need to protect this land, the ecosystem, this, that, and the other, no building on it, no anything. And now all of a sudden we have large chunks of you know land in this country that are state parks, that are wildlife
Mhm.
preserves, that are all these things. Are those okay, or does that step on our rights as property owners? Should we be able to go into these places? You know,
Well, you could definitely go into those places.
well, you know what I mean,
It's
though.
whether or not you can buy something there.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not sure I have a position on state parks or federal state parks, whatever they're called, or national parks. I mean, I don't think I have really an opinion on that. To be honest, it's not something I've really put much thought into.
Do you ever use them? Do you ever go out and do
Yeah, I've
stuff?
been to like the Ocala National Forest. Um, I haven't been to the Everglades, but I would like to. Uh, oh yeah, I mean, I've been to a few. I'm trying to think of any other examples. I'm sure I have like on vacations or something with my family, but none of the other ones are ringing a bell. I'm not really, yeah, I don't know, but I've been to at least one.
Yeah.
Been
Um,
to at least one.
now, don't get me wrong. I love going to them. My wife and I, we like going and walking around them, seeing all the wildlife, the plants. You know how we are. We love
Oh,
the.
the one in Sanford, where the senator was.
Yes,
Yeah, I've been
big
there.
tree park.
Big tree park. That's what it's called. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a state
Uh,
park, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I've been
It's on
there.
the state park register. Yeah. Um, but that comes to mind. It's like, I mean, these are chunks of land that people in the area, et cetera, whether whether it be community, whether it be scientists, whether it be environmentalists, whatever, these are people getting together and making something happen, where property is being taken away and like really actually being put under the thumb of the federal government and the state
Hmm.
governments, giving them ownership, as it were, in a more realistic way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because we can't go live on it. You can't go into a nature preserve and throw up a tent because there's rangers out there to keep people out of them whenever they're,
Right.
and this, that, and the other, because you're bad. You're a human. You can't be in nature. Nature isn't designed to, accommodate humans anymore. uh,
Yeah,
Saints Henry says the government has their own security that will come and kill you for their property. Yes,
it's true.
they do.
Yeah,
But don't we all? Don't we all? Saint says we have a big one in Arizona called the
Segura,
Saguaro National
Saguaro.
Monument, which is a national monument. Regulation is different from a national park or national forest. National parks and forests, you are permitted to camp, hunt, fish, whatever. Yes, camp is one thing,
Yeah,
but you can't like take up residence there, if I'm not
right,
mistaken, right? Like
right.
you can't rely
I
on
mean, if you
squatters'
go
rights to.
far enough away, If you go
they'll
far enough
find
away,
you.
nobody gonna find you.
They will find
Eventually,
you
if you
eventually.
keep
Yeah.
moving,
Well,
keep
you got
moving,
it.
you'll
Yeah,
be
but
alright.
then what kind of living is that? You
Yeah,
want to be a
well,
nomad, I guess.
freedom.
But
That's what that is. That's freedom.
there's a lot to be said for the nomad lifestyle, but I don't
Yeah,
recommend it. You know,
I wouldn't either.
so it's hard to have a garden when you're a nomad.
It's true, but also the garden's all around you all the time.
Mm,
So,
yeah, but you don't get to pick and choose what you're growing.
right, but you can just go somewhere where that's growing and be like, all right, I'm gonna go over here now. That'll
Okay,
be
so where
fun.
are you going to go in a national forest where there's corn growing, John?
I don't know.
Right,
I'm sure
exactly.
it's somewhere.
No, it's not. It's not normal to be in a forest. Henry says, I have a friend here in Arizona who is a nomad,
Ooh,
just camps and moves. Yeah.
the Saint
Is it? I'm
says.
curious, Henry. Is he a Native American? Saint says what?
It said
There's a.
there's a Catholic abbey in one of our national forests that is private property.
But
I
that was
wonder if
probably
there's like a religious like exclusion from that. I don't know.
my. I.
Because abbeys specifically, if I'm not mistaken, have to be like away from most civilization. They just
If
have to be a pain in the ass to get to. That's like the rule.
I would be willing. I would be willing to bet or guess that the Abbey was there before it was denoted as a national forest. So
Probably. Yeah.
therefore, because
Grandfathered in.
it gets to hold on to its land. They could not
Yeah.
push religious affiliation out
Yeah.
or structure out.
Which would make sense.
Um, I would have to. You'd have to look into that. But if it existed before the park was designated, yeah, they have no choice but to keep the abbey there.
Yeah.
Now, if it came in after the fact, that would be a little. I'd be curious as to why that was allowed, or or if it was simply because if you're
Yeah.
a church, you can just go. You can ask to set up there, and they'll give you the land. I don't know.
I don't know.
Jesus is coming. I need a piece of land, please.
Yeah.
We're building a landing strip.
All right. You about ready to
No, I'm
start your
not done.
here?
I'm not done losing my mind, John.
Well, lose it on your own time.
He said it's full of virtuous nuns. Well,
Ooh.
see, and there's proof right there that I've never visited it. Um,
Was it like Castle Anthrax from Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
I'm just saying
Remember that one?
I
Yeah.
might have tried to reform some of the nuns. I'm just saying I'm a bad Catholic that way.
Right.
So John, yeah, we can get the hell out of here. I've had my fun. I don't think you answered my question very well.
I think I
I
tried
think you
to.
just,
I mean,
yeah, no, you were just belligerent, interrupting me the whole time.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
this is
that's what
not the way
happened.
to have a good debate. A good conversation. You're taking too many lessons from your
Well,
orange buddy. Yeah,
see
see
me
the.
on Twitter, and I'll have a good conversation with you.
All right. So, John, these fine folks can find us somewhere down there. Am I correct?
Yes, in our description, we have several links, which include our Twitter, which is at the Gen Gap P, which I've been trying to play Twitter more, so check that out. And then we've got our Discord server, which is awesome and super fun and super spicy. I recommend it. Make sure you go and check that out. And then we got our subscribe star is down there as well. If you like us a little bit, you can throw some cash our way and we'll give you some cool perks. So check those out, see which one you like, and see, what you'll get to do. And then we've got freedomscoop.com. You can find all of our stuff and other lesser and inferior creators like J. Edgar, who's in the chat earlier. Stephen Ignoramus is over there. We've got RRC. We've got Wyatt from Roundtable Decision, or not Roundtable Decisions, Breakdown with Birkenhoff now. I keep going back with the old name. Breakdown with Birkenhoff is over there. And Freckles and Brit is over there as well. And while you're there, you can buy our t-shirts, which are pretty awesome, in my opinion. I'm not wearing it right now, but usually do. If you can put in the code GenGap at checkout and get 15% off your purchase. So make sure you do that because that's fun stuff to do. 15% off. I mean, look at that. You're saving so much money by putting in the code. Just do it.
You should do that.
Yeah, but if you don't get the shirt and put the code in, then you won't save money. You want to save money, don't you?
It's
All right.
important, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, you know.
Honey, I went out shopping today and saved you $300.
That's right.
All right, we're going to get the hell out of here. Remember, a couple of things happening in the upcoming future. Saturday is Halloween. Don't forget to get your spook on. And I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like this Halloween. I don't know how many kids are going to be running around trick or treating. The Corona-ween. I don't know how that's going to impact. My wife says stuff's still flying off the shelves, but we're not
Yeah.
seeing a lot of decorations up and around in our neighborhoods and stuff. So, but anyway, stay safe with that coming up, and start making your decision if you haven't cast your vote. There's a vote coming up on Tuesday. Just a reminder, in case have had your head up your butt or someone else's
Yeah,
butt.
in case you haven't been on social media or watched any television or watched any YouTube or watched anything or
Basically, you were dead up until
so
today.
like Henry might not know.
Right,
He's
Henry
about the
might
only
not know.
one
He was
who
dead.
might not know
He
because
did.
he's been dead.
He said he was dead.
So
Right. So,
right.
Henry, there is an election happening on Tuesday. Just make sure that you're aware of that.
Right.
But outside of that, we are going to be back on Friday night. We'll be back at our regular time of 8:30, and then of course, once again, we'll be back a week from now for for another rousing episode of Shooting the Shit at 9:30. Both of those times, of course, are Eastern time, the one and only true time zone that matters. We are going to get the hell out of here. We appreciate everybody. Much love to everyone in the chat tonight. Thanks for all your discourse and intercourse. And we will talk to you on the flip side. Have a good night. Peace.
Peace.